Tally-ho! Wings of silver, birds of steel. SilverHawks, barking metal.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. It's the one and only Optibotimus coming at you with another video review. And again, on today's episode, thanks to all of your absolutely incredible support, especially those of you that are Optibotimus Plus channel members, we're going to be taking a look at the new Super7 SilverHawks Ultimates football playing twin himself, Steelwill. Again, for the packaging, much like all of these Super 7 figures, you get this really nice mailer box with the SilverHawks logo, Steelwill there, Super 7 down there. Come around the back, nothing overly spectacular other than contact information and warnings. And as always, I'm going to open this on camera to give you my very first initial reactions to it. Pulling this out, getting rid of this guy. And again, you have this nice plastic section covering up the box on the inside, which is nice. But it then does make a little bit more difficult to kind of open it. And here we go. Very much like Bluegrass, you got this gorgeous image here of the SilverHawks logo on this very reflective silver background, which looks great. Steelwill right down there. The back section here has that embossed logo of the SilverHawks. There's me again. And then, of course, we're going to lift this up, bring this up and around, and again, you got that really cool, it's so hard to see unless you really do get it in the light, but that is a gorgeous reflective image of Steelwill right there. Of course, you have a little bit of a bio, so if you'd like to read that, go ahead and pause that right there. Learn all about the Sergeant himself, and again, bottom section, you have contact information, top section says Ultimates, but we're going to come around and look at this figure for the very first time, and and that dude he is big. He is beefy. That looks really very sharp. I love, again, what they are doing with the paint applications here. I talked about it with Bluegrass, and it looks just as good on here as well. As you move it around in the light, it picks it up, it reflects it. Granted, it's not that chrome, which I know so many people want. And again, with this second wave, this actually goes along with one of my vintage figures that I have. So it's really interesting that the second wave pretty much makes up my almost full collection of actual SilverHawk figures. This is really cool. But you have this open window that fully showcases him as well as all of his accessories. And then you got this gorgeous space sort of motif going all the way around. So gorgeous in terms of the packaging on here. But for the packaging, that's about it. So without further ado, let's get this guy out here and see how cool he actually is. And here we have Steelwill opened up out of his packaging and absolutely blowing me away. Now, that's not to say that I don't have a minor criticism about this figure. And no, it's not the fact that he's not chrome like his original vintage version. It's that the coloring on him, I really feel is a little bit too blue and not gray enough. I'll show that off here in a bit when I actually get to talking about the figure. But starting off first with his accessories, he comes with a lot, as you would expect, from a Super 7's Ultimate release. First up, you can see you got some fisted hands that are on him. He also has a right and left kind of karate chopping hand. You can see that his right hand, much like it is on the actual figure, is done with the metal bit, and then you got the exposed skin that is on the left arm. You also get a right and left hand that is designed to kind of hold, well, no, that's not it. There we go. This is more designed to hold his different gun weapons. You can see a little bit of a trigger sort of posing right there. You also do have a right and left fist here. That is more of a clutching hand, which doesn't really work too much with these. I mean, I guess it does. But realistically, when you get that in there, if I can get it in there, and that's really fairly stiff, it doesn't really do a lot because it's just him clutching. So, and I can't even really get it on there. This works a whole lot better. What are I doing then? There we go. Oh, and I just dropped it. There we go. Okay, you bring this in, and yeah, that's a little bit more open. But you can wedge the finger up there and create a trigger sort of thing for it. So I don't necessarily know why we have these ones, which is just him kind of holding things. Other than my belief, and that's all it is, but hands like this would come in very handy if he was holding handles, like in the Mirage, which maybe, I mean, that would be amazing, but you do have those hands as it is. You can see he does come with a gun. As you can see, you can have him holding that fairly easily, but nice detail on here. Coming in to take a closer look at that, you can see that you have a kind of greenish gun. You got this gray barrel section. You can remove this blast effect that just reveals like a hole inside there, but you do have that effect that allows you to kind of look like he's going something like that. But nice paint detail throughout the entire thing. Fairly simplistic. But you also have this one. Now, honestly, I have not watched Silverhawks as many times as I've watched Ninja Turtles or Transformers. I have no idea what this is in reference to. It's hilarious. You can see that, again, real nice detail. But it's got this open mouth that, yeah, you can pull that out and swap it. But this is like something that I would expect the Joker to use. But you can remove that because you have one that is just a closed sort of thing. And I feel like it only goes in the one way, too. Like, is that going... That's not... Yeah, that's not going in there. That goes in just like that. So, you have a closed mouth thing and an open mouth thing. So, there you go. There's that. You also do get a couple different versions of his Hawk, specifically Stronghold. Now, I did forget that somebody mentioned this in my other video with Bluegrass, and I do apologize, but here's Sideman. This is the regular kind of bird version of him. I showed the guitar version, and then the flying one, and I forgot to show this off. He does come with one that's like this as well, but here is Stronghold. You can see that Wingman is a little bit smaller than Stronghold, which is cool. I like it, and you can even see that because Steelwill's arms are bigger. The claws for Sideman here are a little bit smaller to work with Bluegrass, whereas his are a lot more wider to work with the larger biceps or the larger muscles on his arm, which is really cool. I absolutely love it. But great detail on this entire little bird coming in here. Getting a good look at that. That is absolutely gorgeous. Great paint detail all the way around. You can see a very mechanical look with like the razor sort of blade right here. But this guy is strong, much like Steelwill. I mean, that's not going to focus. That's too close for the new special iPhone 14. You can't get too close without it losing its focus ability. That's lame. But that is absolutely gorgeous. And then for comparison to the vintage version, here is Stronghold. And the interesting thing with it, I'm like, you have the feature where it's like the spring-loaded thing, and you can kind of have him like flying through like he's cutting things. But his wings are open up, but very similar to what you're seeing here with like the kind of bladed looking tail right there. You can get a better appreciation with this one here. You can see that the wings are done in a really very similar kind of fashion, but same thing with the back tail. But this is him flying around, and this is gorgeous. You have his mouth that's open as opposed to this one where he's just sitting there. But look at that wingspan. Very impressive. Very cool. There's no articulation in this. I do wish that they had maybe articulation in the leg and then maybe a swivel at the head. I don't know really how you could do that because it is just designed to be all one molded piece. But this is a gorgeous, gorgeous accessory that I need to figure out something to display these guys, like a clear pillar or something. Here's a battery. I'm just going to use this because if I can get these all to kind of perch on a cool stand, that would be absolutely amazing. And I love the way that these guys look with their wings open up, with the mouth open. Super, super cool. Great detail all the way around, but you can see nice color with them, which does kind of differentiate them from Steelwill itself. You can see that this is a little bit more gray, whereas this is definitely a little bit more blue. And I was talking about how I do wish the color was a little bit better on them because it's almost, no, it's a little bit darker than this. Like I said, I'm going to post a picture so that you can see what I'm talking about But continuing on with his accessories, he also does come with a couple different head sculpts. He just has a kind of stoic look there, but here's him smiling right there, looking good. And then you got his mask. Now, when they would fly, they would go whoosh. They'd take their arm, they'd, go like ka-cha, and then it would bring down the visor. His visor was always basically a football helmet, which I always kind of thought was funny because there's nothing else that's helmet related on this guy, but you can see that it's got like this stripe up here. It comes across as a bar, very much like a football helmet because he was a football player. So that is really cool, and I love the fact that they recreated that here very, very nicely. But of course, some of the best accessories are going to be these, because the SilverHawks are all about the ability to fly around in space. And what you have here are extra arms that don't have any articulation at the elbow, and the wing is attached to the underside of the arm. Now, it is still articulated at the shoulder, and you can still rotate it, but this shoulder section is actually different than this shoulder section. This actually has a little hole piece here for these laser blasts that you can plug in right in that little hole. It's a little bit tricky. There we go. Come on, get in there. You just have to kind of force it in there, honestly, but get that wedged in. There you go. And now he's got the pew, 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 pew laser blast coming out. You can also take this piece off if you wanted to, if you just want to have the straight kind of blast effect going. But I love that. And if you wanted to, you could put that shoulder section on there. They are swappable, so you can do it if you're so inclined. But you actually do get two of those to go on both of his shoulders, so that when he's flying around like that, you can have a little blast effect coming out here like that. And then you can take that with the other arm, and when he's flying around fighting Monstar, he can go choo 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 blah 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 blast. That's my sound effect. But really easily, what you do, coming back so that we can get everything in focus. Like I was saying, these shoulders can be removed if you want, but you can also just remove that section there. So if you wanted to, you can leave these bits on. That ball section pops out, and then you can just take this and put that on. But I don't want to do that. I want to have the whole kit and caboodle. So get that back on there. Get that. It is a little bit tight. There we go. Just do a little twisting on there, and that actually causes a problem. This pops off a little bit easier. So kind of hold right at the shoulder and do a little bit of a twist right there. But you see it's a bit of a socket. Then you just bring this in, pop that in there, and now you can rotate this around, position this, and you can already see how cool this is kind of looking. Now, there is a bit of a gap. You can kind of see that going through there, but I don't think it really looks all that bad, and I think that it's the best way to do it, as opposed to this guy where you had that. You had this little claw section here on the back that was not permanently attached. You could remove that if you wanted to. You just have to take this little clip off, and I'm trying to be careful because I don't want to ruin the paint on this guy because it's already fairly fragile. But you had these little clips on here, and then this back piece pegged in. So you could remove it if you just wanted to have him kind of walking around, just like, look at me, I'm Steelwill, just hanging out. And then you can put that on when you would want to. But this was a cloth piece, so I think that this is a better way of doing it. It looks cooler, looks a whole lot more accurate. You can see a very nice silver paint on there. And then this guy here, again, we're going to remove that. Bring this up and in. Peg that in like so. And then just rotate that all the way around. So you can now have him in his flight pose. And that is absolutely gorgeous. I think that is really fun. Like super, super awesome. SilverHawks! That's, yeah, I don't know. I'm just super excited. He's technically the first one that we've gotten with the wings. The first wave has been delayed for some reasons or another, but remember we got Bluegrass, and Bluegrass doesn't have the wings on him. So I love how this has turned out. It's super cool. And then you can take this head, let's just pop that off, take the, where's the visor head? Where there we go. And then when he's flying around in space, this is his look. And get that popped on there. There we go. So so you can kind of position the arms, position the hands around, and there he is, flying, looking so incredibly cool. I absolutely love the way that oh, that's a little bit softer. I don't like how that's a little bit soft, but that just looks absolutely amazing. I mean, that's everything that I want. That right there, that little look for him. Now, I don't know how I'm going to display this guy because I want to have these guys looking like they're flying, and I do like that the head here actually does get a pretty good back pose, so you can really kind of angle things and get a very cool looking flying sort of pose with them. That's really good. But like I said, if you wanted to, you can leave these shoulder bits on. You just have to pull that piece off, and then you can put the regular arm on there if you really wanted to. Now, I have seen some people kind of complain about the disc here. I think that the disc, the color matches pretty darn good. There's really not much you can do about the paint here, because that would really kind of mess everything up. But for the most part, like this side here looks perfectly fine. This one obviously is a little bit different because the shoulder piece here for the arm with the metal section obviously goes down there. I would rather have that than have that all being the same color as the flesh, because that would look really bad under there, I think. Just personal preference, but obviously half of it should be painted half and half. So personal preference realistically, but I'm quite happy with how it turned out. Now, one thing that I'm a reviewer, I have to talk about this, but for my money, while I love the way that he looks, and I think that he is a stellar looking representation of the character, the color on him is not right. I'm going to put a picture right here so you can see. This is kind of a shot of the entire crew. You can see Bluegrass actually fits pretty decently. Bringing him in, the color for him works, I think. The color for Steelwill and then later on Steelheart doesn't match. You can see this is a far more bluish color. It really should be more of this gray color, and I don't know why they didn't do that. And then rounding out the comparison, here he is next to Windhammer and of course the unarmored version of Monstar. And you can see the bad guys do have a slight advantage in terms of the overall size. Even though that Steelwill here is technically the largest of the Silverhawks, he's still pretty small by comparison to these other guys. And then, of course, for the comparison that really does matter, here he is with his vintage counterpart. And again, a lot of people really love the chrome aspect on this, and I do too. It's very classic, very 80s, very much in line with what you would expect. But over time, and it's not necessarily as bad on him as it was on my Bluegrass. You actually can kind of see some of the paint that's on the arm kind of going away. That's probably the worst of it. But this is what a lot of people really wanted when they saw that Super 7 was going to be making these figures. And realistically, plastic that is used nowadays is much harder to put that vac chrome on and have it last. So Super 7 decided to go with, I'm dropping them, a more animation accurate look. The problem though, as you could see with that picture I showed, color-wise, he's not really all that accurate still. I still love the color on him. It looks really good. It's just not an accurate color for him. You can see that he was a darker gray color, almost kind of like, I don't know, I mean, it's not really this color, to be honest with you. It's a little bit dark, although that's not bad, but when you don't have it reflecting, it's more that color. He still looks good. The coloring is really nice, and you can see it does have a very reflective look to it, which is what they were kind of going for, and they nailed it here. It's just the color itself isn't entirely right. He should be a darker gray color, and that is a little disappointing. I still really like the figure. I think he's still really well done, and ultimately I'm very happy that he exists. Because as I talked about in other videos, this is the first time since these original figures that we have gotten Silverhawk figures. So I'm happy with it, but I don't want it to be that thing where I'm happy with it just because we're getting them. I do still expect a high kind of level of accuracy to it, and this coloring definitely doesn't have that. But the design on them still is really cool. Coming in to take a closer look, you can see that the head sculpt looks really nice. Like I said, this is his more stoic kind of look. But you could also see, like I talked about, that very nice reflective coloring throughout the entire body. You have that armband that's on his metallic arm. You do have the kind of yellowish sort of skin tone. I mean, you can see just by the skin tone I have. But it does have a very cartoon style to it. You can see that the crotch piece here does have a slightly different color than the rest of them. I don't mind that nearly as much. I know some people kind of criticize it, but you can also see you have that very nice reflective strap around his leg. Come down to the legs, great detail with them. You got the little talons here on the back, which is how they would kind of slow down when they were flying around. So in general, very happy with them. I don't really have a lot of complaints in terms of the overall execution of the figure other than the coloring. Articulation wise, you can see that the head does have a good ball joint. You do get a pretty deep and very appreciative backwards look for him for those flying poses. You do have a swivel. You do have the hinge right here at the shoulder. You do have a bicep rotation. You also do have an elbow rotation, which I almost kind of feel like that elbow rotation is not necessary to have, but I'm glad that it's there. It does give you a wider ability to pose things. That you don't have to have the bicep completely rotated. You can rotate the forearm around a little bit. So that is really nice to see. The wrists do have a hinge that moves forward and back. You do have the rotation. You have this cut right up here for a little bit of flexing forward and back, and then some rotation. Not a lot because of the oval nature of it. So there is mostly just this kind of like forward and back. You do have a waist rotation. This waist piece is a softer material, so you can kind of see when you rotate that around, it does kind of separate that and bow it out a little bit there. So just be careful as you're doing it. The hips here do move forward and back. They move in and out. There's softer ratchet joints. You have a rotation slightly up here at that hip area, and then you come down to the knee. You have a... well, that's not good. That's one thing that I do notice, that these joints kind of pop off. You can see it up here really well, but you do want to be careful when you're bending it, so maybe put like a little pressure here to kind of do it. But you do have a single bend at the knee. You do have that rotation at the knee as well. Come down to the ankles. Those move forward and back. They do have a hacky sack, and they do rotate a little bit. So you can kind of swivel that off to the sides, and then you still have that rotation there. So there's a lot of joints there that are in the ankle, which I really do like and appreciate. In general, like I said, I'm very happy with the figure. I do wish that there was things that were done a little bit differently, but that's not to take away from the overall coolness of the toy. One part that I do want to mention is that he's kind of heavy. So in terms of doing this, I love this, being able to do this. Like these little claw things right here, they kind of sit there, and it does kind of make him a little bit heavier, but I just think that that is fantastic. I absolutely love being able to pose him with that. This does make it a little bit harder because he does have a little bit more of a outward sort of center of gravity. So taking that off, putting that on, I never have a good time or easy time getting this balanced on here. So let's see if I can do it. Give it a try. But see, it kind of wants to pull him down, and then, oh, that is so cool. I mean, like I said, Silverhawks are amazing. I mean, how can you not like it? It's basically a space version of Thundercats, and I think that they did a great job. There are definitely some aspects that I think could have been improved upon, but for the most part, I'm absolutely happy with how they turned out. And realistically, as long as Steelwill and Steelheart are darker, I probably am going to be okay with it. I mean, like I said, Bluegrass here does have a more bluish look to them, and you can definitely see the color difference between the two of them. So that doesn't bother me all that much. I'm mostly thinking about how they're going to look when all of them are displayed. Like I said, as long as they're darker, and Quicksilver primarily is more of a whitish color, I might not be too terribly upset with it. we're going to have to wait a little bit for Quicksilver to come to us, as that first wave has Quicksilver and the twin sister of Steelwill, Steelheart, which both of those figures, I don't have vintage versions of them. I do have Commander Stargazer, which is coming out later on, and then the Copper Kid, which I'm definitely curious to see how they're going to do that one. But it's great that the majority of the Silverhawk figures are going to be in our hands fairly soon. But there you go, guys. There's my look at the new Super7 Steelwill, part of their incredible SilverHawks Ultimates line. If you'd like to add this guy or any of the other Silverhawk figures to your collection, they are available online at places like Big Bad Toy Store and Entertainment Earth. For both of those places, I'll put links right down there in the video description, where you can swing on over and check out availability on this guy, as well as the rest of the wide range of Super 7 figures. Also, as a special bonus for you guys, if you click on that link in the video description and go to Entertainment Earth to order these, in addition to being able to get free shipping on orders over a certain amount, any order that you place for figures that are in stock will automatically get a 10% discount. It's a special deal that I worked out with them to help save you guys some money, so please take advantage of that. But finally, guys, please remember that the real trouble with the world is that too many people grow up. Thank you all so much for tuning in and watching, and until next time, this has been Optibotimus saying adios, au revoir, and Alvida saying.
Part metal, part real.